would you mind if I stepped inside your mind for a minute?
Sure. Better than you stepping inside one of these shoes. I tell you, it's like Germ City in there.
Dear True Psychic Tales magazine, it's me again, Rasputin Aquato. I know I write a lot, and you haven't printed any of my True Psychic submissions so far, but this one's different. This one's true.
I really like this opening. Since it's been a long time since the first game and not everybody's able to play Rhombus of Ruin, mostly due to it being stuck on the PSVR 1, it's nice to have something that fills both old and new players in on what's happened in a fun, cartoony way. It's a lot better than a boring exposition dump, that's for sure.
Everything okay in here, Raz?
Oh, hey, Lily. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I've dreamed about working at Psychonauts headquarters all my life. I just thought it would be more, you know?
This is admittedly a more minor thing, but I wish they hadn't given it away from the jump that this is a mental trap by Sasha in the opening. It would have been a great twist aided by Raz's grievance here, but with the knowledge that this isn't really Psychonauts HQ, it makes it seem like Raz is complaining over nothing, other than I guess to sell the illusion despite Lobato not being around. Now that we're into the game itself, you might have noticed the enormous graphical leaks since Psychonauts 1. It is to be expected given the decade since that game's release, but even so, it doesn't stop this game from looking incredible. Psychonauts never needed realism to stop it from looking good, but this is such a nice blend of cartoon art styles and realistic textures that it's jaw-dropping. On top of the buttery smooth performance, we really went from Jimmy Neutron to SpongeBob in all the best ways. And this is further exemplified by our first mental world, Lobato's Labyrinth. What starts out as a seemingly ordinary office building quickly morphs into a horrific mishmash of teeth and gums as Lobato regains control of his mind. And it's weirdly mixed just the right amount to be unnerving, but not totally disgusting. The level itself is also totally fair for a first level, and teaches you all the mechanics you need to play the game, from basic controls to collectibles to using your psi powers. Speaking of which, there are some changes to said powers that carry over from the first game, and they're interesting. Telekinesis is more refined to pick up and throw more objects in cleaner ways and open zipper doors. Levitation remains mostly the same, though a little nerfed in the jump height and glide time. Pyrokinesis is now a charged explosion operating on a cooldown. Psyblast no longer uses ammo, but instead fires 3 blasts in succession until a cooldown is in place. And jumping ahead a bit, Clairvoyance now requires holding the button a bit longer to kick in. While some of these feel a little unnecessary, most of them are improved from the original game, and that's always nice to see. Plus, they, along with the new powers we'll discuss later, can be upgraded for more effective use over time. As for the collectibles, most of them are the same as in Psychonauts 1. Figments of imagination, emotional baggage, and memory vaults, with some refinements like figments being much more visible and the tagging animation on the emotional baggage being shortened. The only one that isn't here is the mental cobwebs, which were replaced by nuggets of wisdom, which fulfill the same purpose, and half-a-minds, which add to your mental health for every 2 you collect. Pretty good additions, with the old ones being as good as they were, if not better.
I put the egg in the box, and the box in the basket, and the basket in the ocean. No, that's not it. Put the old box in the basket, and the egg in the ocean.
You put the egg in the basket, and the old egg in the box, and the box in the ocean.
Simple.
And if you tell anyone about me, anyone at all, you'll have to deal with her.
No, not her. Please don't make me look at her again. No, I won't tell. I won't tell anyone. I promise. No, please.
Wow, good job on foreshadowing your new villains. I'm already on pins and needles.
Does that make anyone else a little nervous?
Who are you?
I'm Raz. Rasputin? I'm, your newest Psychonaut?
How's that?
Ford Cruller, he gave me a badge. I've been kinda helping out.
Listen, kid. Agent Cruller is a hero, but he's not operating at 100%. He can hand out all the merit badges he wants, but he doesn't have the authority to commission Psychonauts.
But you can, right? You're Hollis Forsyth, lesser head of the Psychonauts? True Psychic Tales 146. You and Truman fought the Noodler together.
I prefer the title Second Head. If the other agents vouch for you, I might be able to get you a spot in the intern program.
Oh joy, I love it when sequels undo major character progression just for the sake of the character learning new things rather than starting from where they left off. That's just fantastic. Anyways, now we're at our major hub worlds for the game. Yeah, instead of having one hub world split into smaller sections, we instead have 3, technically 4, major hub worlds to explore in between missions. These areas are the Mother Lobe, the Quarry, the Questionable Area, and later on, Green Needle Gulch. While you're here, you can talk to various NPCs, collect Psy cards and Psy cores for rank upgrades, buy pins and items from the shop, collect items for the scavenger hunt,
critical Psychonaut assets,
and accept side quests from NPCs that don't expire past the point of no return. There's a lot to do in all these areas, and despite how big they are, it never gets dull exploring each one. Right about now is when you meet the other Psychonaut interns, and I got a win and a sin for them. The win is because, on their own, they aren't bad supporting characters. Initially, they're very mean and pick on Raz for being the new kid. In fact, they literally pull the steal your clothes and lock you in the storage closet prank. But once Raz proves himself to be the superior psychic warrior amongst them, they warm up to him as a fellow intern. Well, except Norma, the Bobby Zilch of this game, only instead of being cartoonishly hateable, she's just plain hateable.
Shut when you think about it.
As for the others, we got Adam, the historian and yo-yo expert, Morris, the radio kid, Lizzie, the emo with terrible fashion sense, Sam, the animal kid and older sister of Dogen from the first game, and Gisu, the skateboard kid who may or may not have a thing for Raz's brother. Sadly, that subplot was never explored. So yeah, they get a win for being mostly good characters on their own. But they get a sin for being inferior to the camp kids from Psychonauts 1 in almost every way. Not only are there significantly less of them, I mean we went from 20 different kids with their own designs and personalities to just 6, but they also feel superfluous to the overarching narrative. From a world building perspective, they absolutely belong, but their role in the story pretty much vanishes after the second mental world. In between then and the climax, they're relegated to side quests and optional dialogue, and when they do show back up for the climax, it doesn't feel earned or all that necessary. Compare that to the camp kids each getting their own mini moments to shine, and even mini arcs you can see over the course of the game, and also being integral to the main villain's plan, and it's really no contest which ones are the better group.
Oh right, new intern. Thought I told you not to be late. Doesn't matter. You need a mentor. Let me see who's left.
Ooh, am I helping Mia? Or Sasha on a mission?
No, you're in the mailroom. Your mentor is Nick John Smith.
Okay, it's one thing to not immediately trust Raz on a high-stakes mission or whatever. She's likely underestimating him due to his age or what she thinks his lack of experience. But thrusting him into the mailroom? That's not being strict. That's just plain insulting. Surely Forsyth's heard about his accomplishments from Sasha and Mila by now, right? And if not, they need to stick up for their boy, because he does not deserve this treatment.
What are you doing, weirdo?
Alright, that was a pretty clever subversion on the typical badge acquired animation. This is about the time where you start learning your new psychic powers that replace a couple old ones they got rid of. For the record, the ones that don't return are Invisibility, Shield, and Confusion, and I don't mind their absence since they were the most situational of your powers in the first game. In this game, the new powers you learn are Mental Connections, which allows you to zip between thought bubbles and even link ideas together to create an opinion, Time Bubble, which slows down anything it touches, and Projection, which summons an ally to open locked doors and distract enemies. It does get a little annoying with this constant babbling, but luckily there's a pin you can buy that shuts them up. All of these are welcome additions to the game, as they all have their uses, big and small. Now we have our next mental world, Hollis's Hot Street. Technically, there was some stuff earlier in Hollis's classroom, but there wasn't much to talk about there since it was so short. All you need to know is that Hollis didn't want Raz and the kids to go on a casino mission, but thanks to some persuasion from the other kids, Raz used mental connections to change her mind and her worldview by proxy, which caused her hospital-themed mind to fuse with the casino. Now we gotta undo it by going to the games, find out they're rigged, and unrig them to win $3 gazillion chips to undo our mess. Needless to say, this is one creative world. The games you go go through include heart monitor horse races, pill swallowing pachinko, and maternity roulette. Even the way you get to these areas is through a giant metallic die. You could tell the devs had fun with this one, and you know what? I do too. And it's capped off by the first boss fight of the game, Lady Luctopus, but we can call her Lucky, apparently. She's a simple but enjoyable first fight as you gotta dodge the bombs she spits, use telekinesis to throw them back and free the other kids, and zip up to her head to blast through her skull and deal some damage. 3 times is enough to put her down, but in addition to the bombs, she'll throw in some other tricks like shuffling her deck and clearing the floor. Not amazing by any means, but for a first boss, it does its job well.
You're right. I knew it was wrong the second I did it. I'm ashamed of myself. I violated your trust and very idea of what it means to be a Psychonaut. I guess I'm not ready for this after all. I'll pack up my stuff.
You don't need to do that.
You're right. I don't even have any stuff to pack. I'll just go.
No. Listen. You're right about violating trust. What you did was wrong. Very wrong. But, truth is, I pulled a similar stunt once.
Really?
Only the person whose brain I messed with, I couldn't put them right again. They had to call in the Psychonauts to undo what I did. That's when I met Truman Zanotto. He taught me how to apply my powers in a responsible way. The Psychonauts. We're not here to change people's minds, Raz. Not here to fix people. We're here to help people fight their own demons. The ones they already have.
Alright, I understand where Hollis' statement is coming from, and in a vacuum, it makes total sense. But in the context of this, and even the previous game, it doesn't hold up. Not just because we fixed the asylum patients and Dr. Lobato previously, but in this very game, we're the ones doing 90% of the work to help people fight their own demons. In fact, most of them only really get fixed because Raz does as much as he does. And even just now, we outright fixed Hollis' mind, so while it's well-meaning, I don't see the jester holding much water. In any case, the sequence after it is one of my favorites in the game. Raz has to climb up to the North Tower, and the other classmates all get to pitch in with their own techniques. It's exciting, and I wish there were more moments like this to show how well they can all work together with Raz as their leader. Even though it's only a short visit, I love the throwback to Whispering Rock when you first enter Ford Crawler's mind. It kind of makes me wonder what a Psychonauts remake would look like, if that's ever something that would happen. Oh yeah, Ford's back, and you'll need to repair his fractured mind through each of his 3 personas, the barber, the bowling attendant, and the mailman. Unfortunately, just getting to each of these personas is a tedious task. The barber is fine enough, you just waltz on into the shop and enter his mind lickety-split. But for the bowling attendant, you gotta run to the cycle isolation chamber, find Compton Pool, run 1,000,000 yards away, grab some bees, run back, give him the bees, enter his mind, partake in a cooking show, fight some puppets, and then get given the patch you need to get to Ford. And that's just to get in the damn place. The mailman thankfully isn't quite as long-winded to get to, but it's still pretty tedious as you gotta run to Otto's lab, borrow a brain, pop in for a second to see what's going down, run to the mailroom, put the brain in Nick John Smith's head, enter the brain again for a much longer time to sort out more extreme issues, get a rainbow flashbang, and then the doors unlock for you to get to Ford. You sure all that was really necessary? Sure, the fast travel points cut down on the running a bit, and I don't dislike the mental worlds we travel through, but going through all of that just to get to 2 out of 3 personas almost feels like padding in a game that's already fairly long.
Rasputin Delgado, please report to the front desk. You have a visitor.
Wait, hang on, play that again?
Rasputin Delgado, please.
Delgado? Like the capture card company? No, wait, that's Elgato. Well, either way, it's not Raz's last name. That's Aquato, missy.
Rasputin Avocado.
Oh, real original there, calling me Avocado. Now I'm convinced you're trying to be mean.
Rasputin Aquato.
Finally, how hard is it to get the name Aquato right? It's just a mix of aqua and toe. It shouldn't take 3 tries to get it right. At last, we finally meet the rest of Raz's family, having come to support him on his psychic endeavors. Along with the return of Augustus, Raz's great father, we have Donatella, Raz's mom, Dion, Raz's older brother, not you, Dio, Frazee, Raz's older sister, and the twins, Queepy and Myrtla, Raz's younger siblings. Also, his grandma's here too. They're found in the questionable area for most of the game, and they're a mostly delightful bunch, though aside from Augustus, they all harbor great resentment for Raz since he ran away. Understandably so, but when it matters, they're as loving as any family would be. Except Dion. Screw Dion.
Hi! Hi! Hey, over here! What's your name? Welcome! Can you hear me? I said, what's your name? Wait, let me guess. Cody? No. Max? Hector?
Okay, this joke from the receptionist was one I accidentally missed during my playthrough, but hearing it in full is hysterical. One of the side quests you can go on involves disabling 3 psycho-seismometers littered around the hub worlds, and to do so, you'll need to battle a bunch of mental enemies in an arena. Think of them as mini combat challenges, and from that angle, I like them. Finding the machines isn't too tricky, and the fights themselves offer a nice challenge in an otherwise not too difficult experience. Of course, they can trip you up a little bit, but it's nothing major.
Oh, for Lancelot, thank you. Are those the acorns I asked for? Yes? No. No, they can't be, can they? No, because I asked for acorns that were crushed, didn't I? Didn't I, Fur Lancelot? I hate to yell at you, Fur Lancelot, but I am the crushed one. It crushes my heart to see you not doing your best. Understand? Now, do I need to show you how to crush things? No? You sure? Okay. Good boy. Now, try again. But this time think about personal commitment and delivering excellence every day. All right? Sorry you had to see that, Raz.
I think I missed Dogen now. Something funny about the questionable area is that it's supposed to be a nature theme park of some kind that educates you on the supposed mysteries of the area. However, everything presented is either hokey or flat out wrong, and the only true mystery around is the reverse waterfall in the area. Makes me chuckle every time.
Dad, can I ask you about where we come from?
You mean Grulovia? That's a sad story, son, but there were some glory days back in the old country. The Aquatos were part of a very prestigious national circus there. We even performed for the Tsar and his family from time to time. But then that monster Maligula ruined everything.
Actually, Maligula's not ancient history. Some of her followers are trying to bring her back to life.
What?
The Psychonauts think one of her delusionists have infiltrated the base as a mole.
Then be careful what you tell them, son. We're more connected to Maligula than you should say.
What's that?
What do you mean we're connected to Maligula?
She comes from the Galocchio family.
The family that cursed all of our family to die in water?
Son, she is the Galocchio who cursed our family to die in water.
Ooh, things are more personal for Raz than we thought. I love a good lore expansion.
So many brains.
All voluntarily donated upon death. I have all the paperwork. Somewhere.
These people are all dead?
Their bodies are, and their brains are no longer capable of thought. But I've preserved them here, in the brain frame.
What for?
Experiments.
Ew. Really?
No room for the squeamish in psychic science, Sonny. The mind is the final frontier of humanity, and we've only begun to explore its mysteries. That is, after all, the true mission of the Psychonauts. Someday, my brain will live here, and yours too.
What?
Should have read that NDA more carefully.
NDA? What NDA? We never signed anything. I don't recall any paperwork being handed to me in either of these games. Our next mental world is Compton's Cook-Off, and as I alluded to earlier, it's a cooking show where you gotta prepare specific dishes within a certain amount of time to impress the judges, who are all animal puppet versions of Hollis, Ford, and Otto, and win prizes. It's also an obstacle course in a couple ways, so it's not as simple as dragging each ingredient to where it needs to be. Everything here is all fine and dandy, but what really makes it good is how morbidly humorous it is. All the ingredients are weirdly eager and excited to get boiled, sliced, fried, and even blended, and the machines used to do so have their own quips for each round, some of which are especially grim, like the pig slicer slicing pork. Don't worry about missing any collectibles, though. There's an extended break in between rounds, which gives you as much time as you need to get everything you can. So yeah, thumbs up from me. And it ends with a boss fight with the gluttonous goats, the judges of the show, and hands down the grossest boss fight in the franchise. Why? Because most of their attacks consist of them puking on you. Sometimes in just projectiles, and other times in full sprays. That on its own makes it my least favorite fight, but at least from a mechanical perspective, it's still good. In between dodging the vomit and occasional ramming, you gotta grab the correct ingredients from the sludge, throw them into the tubes for Compton to make the dish he needs, and then serve it and the plate it's on to each judge until they explode. Thank goodness these are just puppets. And with each judge down, they'll be replaced with new attacks like a mixer for a wider spray and a spatula for flipping. Also, you'll have enemies spawning in at certain points. Might be a little nauseating, but at least it manages to work well from a gameplay standpoint and from a music standpoint too. The boss theme goes surprisingly hard here. Next up on the list is the PSI King Sensorium, one of the longest, most colorful, and depending on who you are, most potentially eye-aching worlds in the game. You're going through the brain you borrowed from Otto to help him regain his 5 senses, and you do so by finding their 5 instruments that'll help him and the senses perform an incredibly colorful concert. It's fairly simple to get through from a platforming standpoint, and the occasional panic attack mini-bosses, while a tad frustrating, provide a unique challenge. Just try not to stare at the environments too long. With all the colors everywhere, it can be a visual headache at points. And all your efforts in doing so results in a short but grand song, through which it's revealed that the brain you restored belongs to Helmut Fullbear, the long-lost, thought-to-be-dead member of the Psychic Six. It's not only a great moment and a great reveal, but it's a great song too, voiced and sung by Jack Black himself. Yes, that Jack Black is in this game, and he's pretty darn great as usual.
Molecule through my cosmic eye.
But what happened to Helmut? Why only now has he been found? Well, as we're shown, it turns out that when Lucretia became Maligula, nobody could talk her down. And in the middle of the chaos, Helmut jumped in front of Bob Zanotto, sacrificing himself to protect him, and ended up deep down the ice-cold lake, frozen in time. His brain was retrieved, but after Ford's mind was shattered, he forgot all about it, leaving Helmut alone for 20 years, having forgotten himself. It's very tragic, yet joyful to see Helmut reconcile with not only his memories of his friends, but also himself, and power through the bad memories of Maligula. Inspiring, even. See that, naysayers? Jack Black isn't just a funny man. Ford's mental world is a bit tricky to talk about since it's technically 4 short worlds in one spread across his 3 personas, until eventually getting the last one as a result. So I waited until everything else was out of the way before addressing the 4 parts here. The first 3 you can do in any order you want, and they all share a similar goal of getting to the giant Ford head with their own twists. Ford's follicles somehow manages to make a hairy aesthetic look pleasant, on top of some decent platforming. Strike City is you riding a giant bowling ball across city rooftops and even on the sides of some buildings, and Crawler's Correspondence has some tricky platforming across flying letters and shells, and gathering buttons to a typewriter to properly address the letter. Along the way, you'll get glimpses of Ford's relationship with Lucretia, and how he felt when she became Maligula, until it finally ends with the Tomb of the Sarcophagus, where the truth is laid bare in a surprisingly haunting sequence. It's definitely a marathon to get through, but the payoff is well worth it in my book. And what is the truth? The truth is that Maligula never died. They did manage to defeat her, but Ford placed her in a machine called the Astral Lake to lock away the part of her psyche that birthed Maligula, bringing the kind Lucretia back. But since the world would never forgive her, Ford did something unthinkable.
I hid her among her family, Rasputin. Among your family.
No, no, no!
I projected memories and feelings on your father so he would accept her.
Except Maligula?
Yes. As your grandmother.
No!
Yep, Raz's grandma is actually his Aunt Lucretia. His real grandma died alongside his grandpa when Maligula flooded Grulovia, and she's remained hidden with the Aquatos for years. Quite a shocking reveal that genuinely caught me off guard, and instead of being one of those cheap twists for the sake of shock value, it actually works well with the story and lore. Good job.
So this water curse on my family.
The more Lucy comes in contact with water, the more likely she is to remember bad things. So I used the astrolabe to give her an unnatural fear of water. She passed it on to your father, and he passed it on to you.
So, there is no curse?
Rasputin, there's no such thing as magical curses. Please, this is science.
Admittedly, I didn't know how I felt about this tidbit when I first heard it, but given how scientific this world is, I guess it makes sense at the end of the day. And hey, in the postgame, once all is said and done, the water no longer tries to grab you and instead boosts you for tricks. Still can't swim, but who wants to in this game? Cassie's Collection, the mental world of Cassiopeia run by an ultra-strict librarian persona. I wasn't too sure about it at first, but after thinking it over, I think this might just be my favorite world in the game, in no small part due to the aesthetic. The characters are all 2D pages with their bodies drawn on them, and it gives me some nice Paper Mario vibes. While you start out in a massive library, it gets even more creative with its literature theming by jumping into books and running on the words for 2D platforming. The last area you visit even turns into an oceanside town with buildings made of books, paper boats, and ink in place of water. Not to mention all the letters that float around give the place a calm, ethereal feeling. It's just great, man. But what's not great is the enabler enemy introduced in this world. The one enemy in the game that's really frustrating. Their gimmick is that they'll perform an obnoxious cheerleading chant that makes the closest enemy they're next to completely invincible. And good luck killing them because they're pretty tanky and stupidly fast, even with time bubbles slowing them down. Just one of these gremlins is bad enough, but pretty soon you'll be dealing with groups of enemies with 2 or 3 enablers present. And let's just say you won't be feeling as cheery as they are if you manage to survive the crowds.
Maybe we should focus on what you two have in common. Like, do you guys like pizza?
Oh, yeah. Me too. Well, that's amazing. I had no idea dragons liked pizza.
Great. What are your favorite flavors?
Pepperoni.
I usually get half and half. On one side I like pineapple and ham, and on the other side I like maidens and cheese.
Oh my god! Pineapple and ham is an abomination!
See guys, even the knight agrees that pineapple doesn't go on pizza. I've been saying it for years. Anyways, we got the librarian boss fight now. Yes, that's seriously the pun they went with. This is unfortunately not a boss I'm very fond of, but it's not bad by any means. It's perfectly functional, in fact. You just gotta throw whatever you can at her with Psy Blast and Telekinesis until she keels over, allowing each Cassie archetype to hijack her mind. And you gotta take out the enemies she spawns, which includes enablers that can make her invincible. The librarian herself will shoot letters via an open book, shake the shelves so hard books and other objects fall, and shush you so hard it'll blow you away. Nothing outright horrible, but it does feel a little too easy, even with the enablers present. It doesn't take many hits to kill her, and the other Cassie archetypes will occasionally throw in a big item that wipes out a huge chunk of her health. It'd be one thing if these were the only things that could hurt her, but no, even your regular Psy Blast does damage, and a fair bit at that. Despite all this, I do like it from a story, visual, and mechanical perspective, enough to where I'm willing to give it a win, but it's not a strong win in the slightest. Ugh, Bob's Bottles. Now, despite having a few neat set pieces, a funny joke with Bob's mental depiction of Lily, and a solid story about Bob's life and relationship with helmets, this is hands down the worst mental world in the game for one simple reason. It isn't the repetitive burp jokes from the Bob Bulbs, it isn't the bad mood enemies, it's this damn door. In order to get to the islands you need to, you gotta sail across the water on this thing. And it has some of the worst controls I've ever experienced. The steering is stiffer than a petrified tree, and if you gain any speed at all, it's physically impossible to slow down or make a sharp turn without skimming and sliding across the water like a cartoon on ice. Sure, it might not be that bad if you're just going to the big bottles, but if you're going full completionist, many of the figments are on the water, so you have no choice but to use the boat in all its stiff, slippery glory to get them all, and the only thing I felt was frustration every time I had to get on the water.
Well, at least it's not possible to get the door stuck. Then you'd really be screaming.
You know, some days I wonder if my mental problems manifested into reality.
Hey, we agreed on the Dark Tony name. I might as well lean into it. Besides, this is Psychonauts, not Silent Hill.
Both are applicable in this context. It doesn't even have a good boss fight to cap it off. Truheltia Monstria, try saying that 5 times fast, is simplistic at best and mindless at worst. While you thankfully don't have to deal with the awful door controls, you're just slowly moving around in a circle, blasting away and throwing bombs at the plants while they slowly shoot missiles, breathe fire, and throw more bombs. And the only thing to break up the monotony is a single wave of enemies after a third of their health is wiped out. For as nauseating as the gluttonous goats were, at least the fight itself and music were pretty good. This is empty air at best, and aside from the story and I guess the cool environment, it's not worth remembering. Before we jump into the final act, I'm going to jump ahead and talk about post-game cleanup. There are 2 points of no return in this game, one for having the first 3 hub worlds locked off, and one for signaling the end of the game. But once the credits roll, you're free to explore every area to your heart's content. Getting everything you need during said exploration is actually kind of fun. All the collectibles within the hub worlds aren't too hidden, and getting the rest of the figments, memory vaults, and other stuff within the mental worlds is just as easy. In fact, I'd say Psychonauts 2 as a whole is a rather pleasant game to 100%, and unlike the first game, you're given a special prize for 100%ing the game, that being no cooldowns on all of your side powers. You can spam them as much as you want to. Granted, it's kind of useless since you can't refight bosses, but hey, it's better than a postcard.
Ford, is it really you? Cassie, Compton,
and Bob.
I'm happy to see all of you again. What's Nick from the mailroom doing here?
That's actually Helmet Fullbear's brain in Nick's body.
I do love making a grand entrance.
Sounds like Fullbear.
He's in there, all right. But where have you been?
You don't want to know that.
I've missed you so much, Big Bear.
I never thought I'd see everybody together again.
Well, almost everybody.
Hey, I remember this place. We used to sneak in here and fool around on the beanbags, remember? Lucy.
Aww, this is so wholesome. They're all just so happy to be together again after so long. Not even a little mad at anybody for past transgressions. It's really sweet. Lucretia's Lament, the penultimate mental world of the game, and it's pretty good. It starts in a flea circus filled with flea versions of Raz's family, and the music for it is a remix of the Meat Circus theme. That might scare a few longtime Psychonauts players, but rest assured it's nowhere near as bad as that mental world. In fact, it's pretty short, just consisting of slowing down a carousel, riding on a tennis ball, and throwing knives at balloons. The stuff afterwards is where the world really shines. You enter a forest that's entirely made up of quilts and sewing tools, and it's beautiful. It takes me back to Yoshi's Woolly World and how great that looked. And the story stuff you get with Lucy is really sweet, at least up until you get to the mental dam. Then it becomes quite unnerving, as all dark thoughts are. There's even a reveal that the stranger that gave Raz the pamphlet for Whispering Rock Summer Camp was Lucy all along. Pretty solid prelude to the end of the game. Oh boy, the big twist of the game is finally here. The mole and the Psychonauts that helped Lobato kidnap Truman, and the one who's been trying to resurrect Maligula all this time is Nick Johnsmith, aka Zezadovich Gristel Malik, the lost heir to the throne of Grulovia, having hijacked Truman's body with his brain. Being totally honest, I'm a bit torn on it. On the one hand, it does make sense at the end of the day. There were only a handful of people the mole could have been, and given how Nick's brain was missing and Truman had the whole being unconscious act going on, it's not hard to buy it in retrospect. On the other hand, not only was the idea of a mole in the Psychonauts kind of dropped after a while, which makes it easy to forget there was a mole at all, but the idea of the heir to the throne of Grulovia being a thing at all, let alone alive and active, was never established or suggested. Yes, there was passing mention of the Tsar of Grulovia, but nothing ever came up about the royal family until this moment. I don't know if that much can call this a bad twist, but I can't say I like it enough to call it good. Well, at least Crystal's mental world, Fatherland Follies, is pretty good. It showcases his recollection, or rather warped perception, of the deluge of Grulovia, how he views the Psychonauts, and the steps he took to get his revenge, all through a cheesy ride you'd find at Disneyland or something. Really paints the picture of him being a selfish, self-absorbed man-child. You also have to navigate each set to open the way forward, and if you ever get tired of the cheesy music, you can find the gramophone to shut it off. Also, another throwback to Whispering Rock is here, and that makes me happy. Sure, as the final world, it's not the greatest choice, but on its own, it's perfectly fine and does its job well as showing the true nature of the mole.
You know what we have to do.
Mio caro. No tears, my love. It's showtime. Time for the devil's fire hose. Quippy, on the bottom. Now, Rasputin, up top you go.
But what about all that water?
The curse isn't real, Dad. It's just something Ford put in our minds to keep us safe.
Sure about that?
Of course he's not sure. But what choice does he have?
You ready, Raz?
No, so do it quick.
Say hi to Nona for me! Tell her to knock it off!
Another piece of trash I need to wash from the streets!
Oh boy.
Why are you hitting yourself, huh? Stop hitting yourself!
How did you get in here? In fact, how did the rest of the interns get in here too? It was one thing when it was the Lady Luctopus, but Raz needed the assistance of his family to get through the water tornado, yet you lot are able to off-screen your way in? I don't think so. Anyways, it's final boss time, and while it's not a dramatic step up from the first game's final boss, it thankfully manages to be good. For most of Phase 1, you'll be shooting and throwing everything you have in Maligula, while dodging the swirling tornado, water snakes, and your charge attacks for good measure. At certain points, the other interns will provide their own contributions to the fight, and while it doesn't feel earned or make sense how they're here or even do that much since they get taken out soon after the fact, it's nice to see them work together again. Then after a sweet moment with Lucy, Raz gets a major boost that makes him go full kaiju once again for Phase 2, which is a lot better than the last time they attempted it. Granted, it's a little button mashy since you can only punch and breathe fire, but it still manages to be cool in the moment as you beat Maligula back hard enough to send her tumbling back down to the dark recesses of Lucy's mind. Not the most amazing fight in the world by any means, but by this series' standards, it's a fun finisher for the game.
Despite my best efforts, you interns have seen some really inappropriate things. But I think you've also learned a truth that every Psychonaut should know. That there are flaws in our most venerated institutions, in our heroes, and in ourselves. We all make mistakes, and we all need help sometimes. But we all deserve a second chance. You've seen us at our worst, and we've seen you at your best. And I'm proud to say, you have all graduated from the intern program.
Woo!
That's what I'm talking about!
You are all now officially Junior Agents of the Psychonauts.
Junior?
I'll take it.
This ending may be a little abrupt compared to the first games, but at least it finally gives Raz his agent status that he deserves. Now let's just hope it doesn't get revoked in a potential Psychonauts 3. So that's Psychonauts 2. This was a very fun game to play in 100%, and it's absolutely a worthy sequel to a decade-plus old game. Now, is it better than Psychonauts 1? In a lot of ways, yes, but there are some aspects of it that feel like regressions in some ways. It's kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of deal. From a purely graphical and mechanical standpoint, Psychonauts 2 is better, but some part of me kind of prefers the story and characters of Psychonauts 1 more. That, however, might be a more personal issue, and again, this is largely in comparison to what came before. Psychonauts 2 is still a great game that you should play, and a game I would absolutely return to if I wanted to. Right now, though, I got a whole host of other videos in store. 6 E-Raws in addition to a few miscellaneous ones, and this time I promise to do my best to get them all out before next year, especially considering my future plans. You can expect a great deal of new stuff from me this year, including a brand new series I'm extra excited to share. See you next time, everybody!